everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sugar and Spikes podcast. I am Desiree Ruziski. I run DesireeW.com. I'm the voice behind the Ms. MBA blog, which is kind of making a sneak comeback. And I'm on social media, spreading my general business and life guidance-y things all around the interwebs. And this is a podcast for restless creative bosses who are ready to do something more and trying to figure that out. So today, when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about and everything, for the past few weeks, I've really been going back to this whole idea of back to basics and thinking about what would this look like if I was new? Would I have kept going? Would it still be this thing? And so I just really wanted to talk about the steps that you take from something being a passion project. The Ms. MBA blog was a passion project, right? It was something I wanted to do as an artistic outlet and then grew into something bigger and better. So how do you take the passion project and then turn it into something that's actually that you can monetize and, have work for you and, help develop the life that you really want and are madly in love with, right? So how do we do that? Because there are a lot of steps and it's a really long, windy, weird road, right? Anyone that's tried to take a craft hobby and turn it into something maybe on Etsy and stuff, you know what I'm talking about. Or maybe that's what you're thinking about doing right now is you have this really cool artistic skill and you want to put it on Etsy or you want to get bigger on Etsy, whatever. It doesn't have to be that, but it can be. It can also be coaching or blogging and monetizing your blogging. How do you take something that is driven by your heart and have it fuel the physical world, right? Money. How does it help support you? So when I started out writing the Ms. MBA blog. And like I said, that was really a passion project and it was developed to become very much another feminine voice in the whole business conversation, right? Because even though I my perspective was a small startup perspective, there were still situations I was seeing, interactions I was having where I felt there should be some commentary, some reflection, and a space to show, people starting out in smaller corporations that things aren't always as we'd like them to be and how to get through that, right? Because I wish I had that voice. So I stepped up and I kind of filled that hole. And it was really great. A lot of great feedback and it was a really solid time in my life and I was super excited to have that. But then the more I worked with it and the more I developed it and really got into it, that was when the whole idea of a business really came up. You hear about monetizing blogs and you hear about passion to profit in 20 days or, things like that. So it got me thinking. And at the time, the blog, my husband, my designer, was helping me with the design stuff, and he has a ton of agency experience, And Tammy, my best friend, was working on her doctorate, and we all had these abilities and stuff where we were talking. It was we could totally be an agency. We could be a consulting agency, and it'd be great. And that was kind of the birth of Action Attitude, and we can still see a little bit of those remnants in my email, right? I still have that URL. The Action Attitude website is still up. It's living. It's not completely a dead idea, but kind of the thought around that was wanting to kind of fill another hole, but also use my voice. It was really, I feel like I was driving it, because everyone else had other stuff going on, right? But I was really driving it and trying to include other people and be inclusive and stuff. But that led to things taking a bit longer than I'd like, because like when I have an idea, I want to go for it and just do it and get it out there, right? So things were taking a bit longer, and I slowly lost my voice. So something that started out as a passion project and was all around things that I could control creatively and had say in and pieces like that, because we were presenting ourselves as an agency as opposed to an individual, or as opposed to a group of individuals, like the voice and the tone and the messaging became very neutral. And it was cool. Like if you check the website, you can still see a little bit of our personality and stuff, but it definitely wasn't what it was supposed to be. And that time was really hard because the business idea and coaching and consulting is something that I really love. So I was still being fueled by my passion and dealing with something that I wasn't passionate about, that I was supposed to be passionate about. So there was a really awkward, like, growth, messy period in there. So from there, I had this lightning moment, like a total light bulb moment, where I realized that Action Attitude could live eventually, but that wasn't what needed to happen now, and that wasn't what I needed to be working on in the moment. That wasn't what my team needed to be working on. So that was, this brings me to tip number 1, the first piece for taking something from being a passion project to a business, right? Get really honest with yourself about what you're looking to accomplish and why you want to monetize it. And what you can actually handle. Like, I thought that developing this whole like big picture idea would be great for where I was, but that wasn't really feasible. Like, even if it was feeding everything else that I needed it to fuel, just taking on starting up like a full-blown agency wasn't right at the time. So the first piece is get really, really honest with what you want to do, and like so specific and so crystal clear. So what you want to do and why you want to do it, right? Like I always go back to those fire-driven goals and, understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Because the thing is, it's really hard. And if you're listening to this podcast, you know that. Like, you've overcome challenges, and you know that anything worth doing, it takes growth. First thing was I got really honest with myself. The second piece was I talked it out. And I know this is hard for a lot of people to kind of get on board with. And I see it in the online space a lot, where people are like, oh, I don't want to tell my family what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to tell my family that I'm coaching, or I don't want to tell my partner that I'm opening an Etsy shop. Like, they're just going to laugh at me. And so here's the thing. I was queen of that. Total reigning in a kingdom of not wanting to tell people what I was doing, and not wanting to put it on social media, and not even wanting to talk to my husband about it. Like, even when it was Action Attitude and like an agency model, and my husband was the designer, like, it was still initially really hard for me to talk to him about it, because I thought, like, I was convinced he'd laugh. And I felt super embarrassed and ridiculous, right? Like, who am I to be doing this? And what if my support system isn't as supportive, right? The thing is, if your support system is worth anything, they're not going to laugh. They're going to support you and cheer you on and offer any assistance that they can, and help you develop what you want to build. That's not to say there may not be some challenges, and there may not be some critical voices in the mix. And the thing is like, there are some people that say don't let those drag you down, and that's true. I totally agree with that, but also, like, those critical questions will help prepare you for when things are rough. And if you can answer those critical questions, then it shows you that you've really thought through what you're wanting to do, and it's not just a whim or an impulse. So, like, don't get hung up on the critical pieces, but don't ignore it. Like, I don't know, like, don't go into starting a business or something thinking it's going to be all roses. Like, it can be easy. You can have organic growth and, pave a way for ease, but there's a learning curve for everything. Everyone's on a different path. So pausing and really thinking about that is essential. And the thing is, if you're talking with someone and they're critical and you engage in like a mature conversation around that and they're still not supportive, then that's definitely a time to like step back and ask yourself, well, do I want to be talking with this person about it? And if you don't have a strong support group like in real life, there are so many places to get support online. Not meaning to plug my group right now, but the Sugar and Spike Society is a free open Facebook group for people that are looking to take the next step and that want to talk it out and think through things and need some extra support. And that's whether or not like you're doing the corporate thing, you're starting your own side hustle, or you're taking your side hustle to your front hustle, like whatever it is, our group is around to support people. And it gives you a ton of access to me. So that's that. Talk it out either with someone that you know, talk it out with your group on the internet, find a group on the internet, come hang out with me, whatever, just talk it out, okay? So far we've got, first one is honest with what you want to accomplish and why, talking it out. And the thing with talking it out, and I meant to say this earlier, the thing with talking it out is when you talk it out, it makes it real. And if you're nervous to talk about it, the more you talk about it, the easier it becomes. And then it just becomes like a fact of life. Like, so once I started talking with my husband about it, then it kind of moved on into an everyday conversation. And that meant we could get things done easier. I wasn't spending like an hour freaking out about asking about, a logo or something because I was embarrassed about the idea, so talking it out, it makes it less scary and it makes it more real. And those are two of the biggest and best things you could ask for in developing as you develop your business, is something that's less scary and something that's more real and tangible. So those are the other pieces of talking it out. The other piece and the last tip, the last thing that you need to do to take something from passion to a business is testing it out. So the thing with testing it out is, and I learned this as I was developing Action Attitude, actually, was you need to do it to know what works and what doesn't work. So if you have this idea and you're like, well, I'm not sure if it's going to work, I'm not sure if people are going to want it, I don't know what's going on, like, do it, put it out there, make stuff, and then like you'll get your answer, right? And if you don't get your answer, or the testing it out is when you find out if you're really doing what you want to be doing, if it's really like feasible. Like it fills in a lot of blanks that are just hypothetical in the beginning stages, right? So when I was doing the Action and Attitude piece, I had this whole thing lined up. I had a course that I was getting ready to sell and, super excited and nervous about the launch and going through all those general feelings, right? The thing is when I went to go run Facebook ads and when I went to go write copy for the ads, I couldn't tell you who I was trying to talk with or who I was trying to work with because I was trying to connect with everyone. And there's no, you can't message to everyone. That's a fact. That's a bonus fact right now. You cannot message to everyone, which goes back to getting honest with yourself and who you're wanting to work with, right? Or who you want to design for. So test it out. And as I was testing it out, like going through the process of launching, like it was real and also something where I was learning, right? Going back to that whole learning curve piece. So as I sat at my computer and couldn't write anything because it was so fucking general, that was what helped bring my business into a whole other evolution and what helped pave the way for a business model that I love. It helped birth the Sugar and Spikes podcast, which I adore. It led the way to branding that I'm obsessed with. It led the way to what I wanted the monetization of Ms. MBA to be, right? Like, it got me to where I wanted to go. So testing it out can also, like, I don't know if I'd call it testing it out. Like, it's doing it and readjusting. The thing is, you have to be constantly shifting, readjusting, and knowing that you're not going to be settled. Because if you're listening to this, like, I don't care if you're in the corporate world, if you're an entrepreneur, a mixture, like, if you have the ambition and if you're restless enough to want to go for something bigger and better than where you are now, like, you're always pushing yourself, you're always challenging yourself, and you're always, looking for that next piece. And like, you're not backing down. Like, it would have been really fucking easy for me to be like, oh, well, it looks like I'm tossing the towel in because this is too general and I've wasted months and this is pointless, right? Like, I could have done that. And to be quite honest, there have been multiple times since then where I could have easily said, well, this is not working. I'm done. It was a good moment. We're going to move on and I'm going to go focus on reality, right? That's bullshit. We all know that that's bullshit. And the thing is, it's only failure and it's only pointless if you end it there. So, like, test it out and keep going. Those really hang together and need to be said jointly. So those are my 3 tips and a couple bonuses in there for how to take a passion project and turn it into a business. And maybe you're sitting there and you're thinking like, well, I have this idea, but I'm not really sure. And I kind of like, I need to flesh it out. And I don't know if like what I'm doing, I don't know if my blog or my designs or my hobby, I don't know if I can turn that and monetize it. Like, I don't know. It sounds like a cool idea, but I'm not sure. Like, if you're sitting there and you're thinking like, you have something, but you're not sure what, then go to my website, DesireeW.com, and this is really cool, and I'm super stoked to announce this, is everything has turned into a freebie library. So if you click on free stuff, then you just need to sign up once with your email address and you'll be given the password for the whole freebie library. The cool thing is there's a brand new freebie that just dropped today, which is the 20 question business edition or Ms. MBA's business edition, whatever. And what that is a fillable PDF workbook with 20 questions to help you gain clarity on what you want to do, why you want to do it, how you would do it. And there's questions there that you may not think of. There's questions that may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they're really good to think through. There are going to be some where you're like, oh man, I got this, and just write for days. But every piece in there is something important and helps build the picture to more of a sustainable business instead of just something where it's like, this seems like a good idea and jumping and leaping, which is cool, but like, if you can think through some stuff and process it out, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed, right? Like, if you don't know where to start, this workbook will get you to a place for your next step. I can guarantee it. So that's all. Go to DesireeW.com and the freebie's there. Click on free stuff. If you have any questions, hit me up on any of the social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, DesW Ms. MBA. MSMBA. I'm totally available, and join in on the Sugar and Spice Society. Facebook had some weird stuff going on with like letting me post and stuff, so it's been a little quiet, but it's coming back, I promise. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and have a fabulous day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.